19,000 clams. We're all set? I guess we'll call this meeting to order. The Pledge of Allegiance is first. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. First on the agenda is presentations from the Stan Waltz. Front and center.
The Stan Waltz.
I did say that. I said that.
So well, Stan's passing out what he needs to pass out. I have a wonderful story about Stan Waltz.
Yep.
So when I went to buy my house in 2011 in Damariscotta, I called Stan Waltz. I didn't know who Stan Waltz was. There was some number. They're like, call our code enforcement officer. I'm like, okay. So I call this guy Stan Waltz. I'm from New Jersey. He's from Maine. And he says to me, oh, no, you can do this. You can do that. And he was great. It was just a wonderful experience. And he goes, oh, yep. And then you'll be seeing the smelts out there.
Oops.
Smelt shack. Well, I was not sure what a smelt shack was at the time. I can't tell you. I ran around and said, I wonder if that was a good thing or a bad thing that there'll be smelt shacks out there. Well, it took me a little bit, but I found it. And he was my first public servant that I encountered in Maine. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yes, those go that way.
And I just wanted to share that with you because who knew 6 years later that I would be working with Stan. But he was a wonderful representation of what public servants, how they should be and how you should be treated by a public servant. And it was just an impressive engagement in a foreign land. You're
Yes,
getting
you
red.
Yes, a little bit. We might have to bolt from both doors on the way out.
You might have to.
Bob?
So how surprised were you when you realized that you'd be working with Stan as town manager?
It was really, actually, it was a lot of fun, but I was even more happy that when I finally realized I had to go over to my neighbor who knows Stan, who actually I think might have taught Stan. I'm not sure. They have some kind of a relationship. And had to ask them, like, after I already bought the house. So what is exactly is a smelt shack? And it's said a certain way that a Mainer can only say it. And he just thought that was very funny. So he had a whole story that went with exactly what happens in smelt shacks. So later on, when I finally moved here, I decided I needed to go investigate what happens in these shacks. So I walked into a shack unannounced, and it was on the Salt Bay, and I knocked on the door, and I chose one that had heat because I could see the smoke coming out, and I knocked, and there was these wonderful older gentlemen, and they invited me in to fish with them, and they were just absolutely wonderful, and we had a great time. And so I figured out that ice fishing is fun in Maine. And I think they used a word cunning, and I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or not. And I think I texted you and said, I'm not sure if this is a compliment, but it was, and it turned out great. And that's one of my very favorite Stan Waltz stories, all about ice fishing.
You didn't know who was in the
No, I just knocked on the first shack that had heat and said hi. So I said, I've never done this before. But I said, I've always wondered what you guys do down here. And I spent about 2 hours with them. And I'm not going to say that they did not have some libations in the shed or shack, but it all worked out well.
They do what they need to keep warm.
It was a wonderful experience. I will tell you that, the whole thing. So all of it started because Stan Waltz was a great public servant back in 2011.
I'm glad they were good guys.
And they were. No fear.
Stan was a little concerned.
Yeah.
No, they were fine.
Anybody or anything.
My experiences in Maine have been wonderful with that. So anyway,
Stan.
I'm just going to move so you don't have to stand up the whole time.
Okay, sure. Oops.
I'm not sure.
That's okay. I just don't want to make stand.
So the seat, I thought you wanted me up front.
You're fine.
So we're here for a couple of reasons. I'll start with Route 1 with Kevin Seacott.
Mhm.
So we have a business moved into Waldeboro on Route 1 just before Aziaz Hardware. There's a big parking lot. The town and the state both have been after him to get a road opening permit. I've been after him to come into the town to get a permit to have the parking lot. And then go to the planning board because he's got a new business and there's 5 trucks in there, so it's a truck terminal. And he won't respond to either one of us, but the state sent a letter out May 3rd, so it's public now. They're going in on May 17th and taking the entrance out. They're digging up just right across the parking lot. So maybe he'll respond by then.
Yep.
We'll see.
Now, is the existing driveway itself permitted?
No.
It's not even where they had it before
No,
they
in the
started
right of
filling
way,
it, right,
He's-
before they started filling it in?
Yeah, he's filled over that right away, which is somebody else's property before we get there. But that's another issue. That's the first thing.
Yep.
And we'll see where that goes. And then we have some issues in town with buildings that are falling down. And one of them, well, I'll go over those first. So one is 62 Manktown Road. Sent him a letter, that was last fall. He was supposed to clean it up by the end of November, and he called up and says, well, I can't get anybody till spring. I said, you got till spring. So he came in here 2 weeks ago
Mhm.
for something else, and I talked with him, and I said, so when are you taking the building down? Oh, I've got this company, but it'll be this summer. I said, not soon enough. We want it done quicker. So I'm gonna go through the list, but what I'd like is for your permission to say if you don't do it within 30 days, the selectmen are gonna have a hearing, and then they'll condemn it, and then you'll have to take it down. And I'll give you the list and tell you what's in each of those pictures. One of them is a junkyard, and I've talked with him, that they just add more to it instead of cleaning up in Winslow's Mills.
This is the same process that we went through a few years ago.
Yeah.
If you recall.
And he's on the list.
And it's a state process, it's not our process.
Correct.
Some of these
No.
have people living
It's
in
your
them.
process.
There's a different process for an uninhabited, isn't there? I mean, we work with uninhabited.
We don't have an ordinance, a local ordinance.
No, it was a state. It was a state
Right,
one.
it's a state.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to there's one that is inhabited that.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, I
deal
saw, a couple of them are.
with. Okay.
Yeah, so the first one, we'll start with, so that's 62 Manktown, which is the last picture that you got. That's a trio picture, not the one that I took. 'cause
I was
couldn't
gonna
find
say, I've never seen that look that good. I looked at that and couldn't
So
believe it
there's
was the same.
Yeah,
I guess.
these
it. The
aren't.
barn in the house, there's
It's awful.
with a shed in the back, and that's falling down,
Scary.
and the barn is falling down. It's got a lot of issues. So he said he's gonna tear it down, but, I've only got so much I can do, and then I need
Fine,
the
yeah.
selectmen to say,
Yeah, on that house, a child ran, that doesn't look at all like the picture. It's empty, it's been empty, the people died. But a student ran away, I think it was a middle school student, ran out of school, ran away and went under that building. And one of the neighbors fortunately was able to talk her out. But that's really a scary looking place that frightens me because it's so close.
And we've gotten complaints
Yeah, it's,
about that.
well, the thought that somebody was hiding under there, it's hard to imagine that it's still standing too.
so then we'll skip up to, well, we're close. We'll go to, there's 2 barns on 220. One's at 1409 and the other one's at 1247. One is right next to the road on the right going up. It's green, it's falling in, and he hasn't taken care of it. And the other one is further up, just before Filer's Corner on the right.
And that barn is now, the roof is falling in. I haven't contacted them yet, but I'm going to. I was sorry when I was up there Thursday.
Are those in the pictures?
No.
Okay.
There.
I know the one you're talking about, your filer's corner.
Mm.
It's a the roof is caved, straight going backwards into the barn.
Yep.
And I haven't stopped by there. I came by, like I say, Thursday. And that's- I did go out.
But you will be making contact with them.
The same as the other one. I know him personally. So then we'll skip up to Winslow's Mills. So 942 is the old church. The steeple is starting to fall off. It's starting to go at an angle. And I'd say a good windstorm, but 2 or 3, and that's coming down. So I want to write them a letter and say,
Does somebody live there?
take the steeple up. No, it used to be a shop. There's a house right next door.
Yeah.
But he did an oil repair business, furnace repair business in there.
Chris Fiore owns it now, which he has the eel buying station in the garage
Oh, okay.
beside the house.
Yeah,
That's his mother's house. That's right beside the,
yeah. I think it was, I don't know if it's her husband or whoever, he passed away, I believe.
Yeah.
That used to have a business in there.
Yeah.
But now if you look up the steeples.
Oh,
Not good
Good
shape.
for you for picking that up, because I
Yeah.
drive by there all the time. I wouldn't see
Yeah.
that problem.
Yeah,
I will now.
the belfry is, you can see it. pretty
And
bad.
part of this is we're reactive to, and you'll hear even after we're done the building discussion, we'll go into some of the other issues that Stan faces.
So that's the first one. Then across the road, you got 951, which is the one with all the pictures of the cars and
Oh, yeah.
metal and all that stuff. And the first picture is of the house before, when it had the bushes and stuff in front. Now it's just, I've talked to him probably a year ago. I wrote to him and talked with him. Well, I'm gonna clean it up, but he didn't say handicap, but he had a word similar to that. I know his son is living there and stuff, and
I think there are a lot of young people in there.
it could be.
Yeah,
but it's
you know,
just- It keeps adding up instead of going away.
yeah.
Then we get to 994, which is low call residence, which has already been through you.
Oh,
It's
right.
been condemned. Come to a public hearing here at the town office. I went there last year in September and he ended up in court because he kicked on my car, costing over $2,000. That still hasn't been settled yet in court. I'm fine, but he's not. And the last one for this is 970 Main Street next to the library. I sent him multiple letters, said he's gonna clean it up. The neighbor keeps calling, he's trying to sell his house. He's come way down on the price. Now he's rented the house. And there's 2 young kids under 5. And there's a bunch of, in between the house and the barn is there. The piece that they took down, it's all debris, boards with nails and stuff in it. And so the owner next door, who's a priest, minister, keeps calling me. And I said, well, I can't do any more. I have to go to the selectmen. I can write letters and, but after that, I don't have any authority. It comes down to the selectmen. And I have the paper in the cab, but I don't have it here. So there's a statute that for dangerous buildings or net.
We're gonna have to follow that.
Or,
I think there's an empty oil tank on that property too, in the back.
yes.
You can see it from the parking lot of the library.
And now as you can see, the L part of the house, the roof is falling in.
Yeah.
It's not very good, easy to see it, but if you go to the library, you can certainly see it falling in. Now he's got the sale sign on it, so. So I guess what idea to ask is, so we, the issues. We have people living in situations that they shouldn't be in. But there's not too much we can do about it. I can't really kick them out because then you're responsible to put them in a hotel or something until they find a place to go. Supposedly, one of them has, well, there's a whole bunch of issues with rats in Waldeboro, supposedly. But the neighbors on both sides have animals. But one of them on the North Noble Road, the woman that called me was keeping one as a pet. She was complaining about the rats. So I went to the neighbors, took care of the rats there, but she was throwing the garbage out back of her house, the trash. So that's where the rats were. Another one is on the Gentner Road, and the guy's complaining about the neighbors, but he's got chickens, and chickens trap rats. So they're just everywhere. And of course, right now they're out and about.
That has been, I would say, one of the largest complaints we've had, where we've never really had these before. And that is one of the anomalies of this, maybe I would say winter and spring, is the number of rat calls we've gotten. I don't know if it's cyclic or what it is, but we've gotten a lot of rat calls. And we have called the Department of Agriculture to come down.
Ray Bryant.
To deal with some of the animal issues.
With the
Correct.
pigs. Yeah. So I called him about Waldeboro, but I also called him about Noblesville. So I'll tell you how that went. So he talked to the guy who had the pigs, and he told him he had to move because they were right near the neighbor, really close, 25 feet. I heard Jack, and just the smell is unreal because he keeps them 5 or 6 in one area, doesn't move it. So the state comes down and he says, well, can you show me the law? He says, no, I'm the top guy in the state and what I say goes, so do it. So he didn't like his attitude. So he called me and I said, well, put him on the other side. I said, rotate him, back and forth or something like every 2 months. He thought that was a great idea. But so the state has been out and I don't know if he's been to Gentner Road yet to look around himself. There's all kinds of animals out there running around. They're not in a pen.
Free range.
Yeah. So, so I guess what I'm looking for is when I send these people a letter and give them 30 days, and then I write them again and say, look, the 30 days is up, and what are you doing? And they don't respond, or it goes on for a year. I want to be able to bring them in front of the Board of Selectmen and let them explain why they haven't done it or whatever. And then you can give them a time, and if they don't do it, I'll provide Julie with a statute. We can fine them $100 a day until they do it, and you can put a special tax against them. Or you can, if they don't do it, then you can do it and pay for it and put the tax, that a special assessment against their property tax. So either way, it will finally get cleaned up,
But this is in regard to dangerous buildings,
on nuisance.
not, right, not just because somebody has long grass
No.
or any
This is-
issues. This is truly buildings that you would consider dangerous as the CEO.
Either condemn them, either because they're a nuisance
Mhm.
or they're a danger. And I have that statute printed off. It's in my car and I didn't bring it in.
Yep, I think I remember that we used that.
We went through that
So we
before.
can potentially go through the process like we did down to back code.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is this one with all the stuff, is that one looks, I don't know, looks like it's
Is this one more
more
the
like a junkyard
Yes.
versus a dangerous
And
building?
Right. And we have a
Right.
junkyard rule.
rule
And
for
you can
that,
make them
so
clean it up.
they can make that or build a fence, whatever you
that's-
do.
We get a lot of complaints about
Yes,
that.
It's all.
Yeah.
Under state statute and stuff.
On a good note, though,
Yes. It's a good note.
on a good note,
Oh, the yield places.
I was gonna
Breaking
say,
ground right off.
the eel, Sarah Rademacher and the eel hatchery is coming. She's gonna start breaking ground on that. So that's a nice thing.
Is it still a 25,000 square foot building that they're gonna put in, or is it?
Mhm.
I knew it was
Is that
20.
is the business part?
Yeah,
Mhm.
George said they're taking down trees already for it.
Yes.
Wow.
She just sent an email and
She
she wants to
did.
know if we want to come to a groundbreaking
cutting.
and
Oh,
put a
I thought that
shovel
was
in, have
really
your picture
nice.
taken.
that would be nice.
Mhm.
That would be nice. Well,
No, it's great.
well, they do that in.
Yeah, she is a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And
Um,
that'll
Be
be
good for the town, good for the
Mhm.
business.
and,
And they'll hire a few people, because they grow them, and then they,
Mhm.
once they get bigger, they smoke them and sell them, you know.
another good thing that Stan did that kind of flew under the radar was replacement of a septic system that had been leaking, that he completed this last year through the program that the state has
Oh,
for one of our residents.
Mhm.
And you don't realize how involved he is. He had to put out the bid for that, meet with the contractors, and that's just one of those things you don't think your code enforcement officer does. Ours does.
Do we have a program that people can come in and sign up for that? And they have to see Stan for that, or
Yeah, if they can't afford to put the septic in.
Yep.
If it's.
I
the
just
high
want to make sure
priorities-
everybody's aware of that, that's all.
Yeah, there are priorities on the state list.
Mhm.
So if it has to do with drinking water or clam flats or water bodies, then they're on the top of the list. And this one was going into, what's it called? Easter River, I think. South Waldeboro, and you. behind
Is it Goose River?
Goose River, yes.
Mhm.
Goose River.
And
Actually was draining into there.
if you'll recall, the grant that the Shellfish Committee got to do the investigation of septic systems along the Madama. Stan had originally been involved with that, and then there was an intern that is finished that project up. But that's one of those things that will come from the inspections and that database. We will then be able to go and look at older septic systems, and if people are going to have problems, that's the program that we would utilize to fix those. So you don't realize how much Stan does, but he does a lot.
That's another thing I want to talk to you about. Can't remember what it is right now.
So would you like a motion to be able to send letters to these people? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, to be a little more forceful and say, look, if you don't do what I ask, then you're gonna go to the selectmen.
Okay.
And then hopefully they'll listen to me a little more.
Second step.
I'd make a motion to support Stan's efforts as a select board
On dangerous buildings
on dangerous buildings.
As he listed.
Presented today during the meeting.
or nuisances?
Yeah.
Is that acceptable, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second? Is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor? Yeah, you are all set, Stan.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Have a good night. Thank you for staying late.
Not late. Now we gotta go to a planning board meeting.
Go to a planning board meeting.
All right, now we have a public hearing for liquor license for the Narrows. Would somebody like to make a motion to open up the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Public comments. Let's see, Jeff here, so.
Just so everybody is aware, we checked, there's been no complaints.
Yep.
Regarding the Narrows.
Well, I remember last year, he got a permit to do something out back, outside. And I was hoping he'd be here,
Is that not part of this
because
permit?
nothing had, I don't know. Well, nothing.
No, this is for the,
This
just
is
the-
different.
this is
for
a
the price, but I-
totally
Oh,
separate.
yeah. it
Okay.
is, but
Yeah,
I
no, this
wanted-
has nothing to do with outside. This is strictly for
No, I
renewal.
know
of
that,
license.
but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, I was hoping he would be here so I could ask if he had any plans to use that. You know, once we okayed that, if he plans to do anything with it.
Some of that might impact on one of the studies that the folk,
Oh,
the students
okay.
from Max, on that
Parking lot.
parking lot back there, fairly significant. Not that it was yours, but I mean, that they did it, that you.
Is there any other comments? Sure.
St. Paul resident, I'd just like to say, I think all of us think of the Narrows as a pretty useful institution. Many of us go there for dinner once in a while, and we don't ever have any kind of trouble that I know of, fights at bars or anything like that. It just seems like a very nice thing downtown.
Anybody else have anything? Would somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Somebody might take action.
I move that we approve the license.
Liquor license.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. All set with that. Next one is the annual town meeting warrant articles. Somebody like to make a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Public comment. Is there any public comment?
Should I go there, or we just find?
It's better because people
Yes,
can hear up
yes.
there.
Yes, sorry, Seth.
Seth Paul, citizen, resident, small business owner. I just wanted to commend the town on these two forums that are being held, one of which is about the articles on this warrant. I think it's interesting that the article on the 80 Gray building was, one of the articles was forced by a citizen's petition, but I think that's a good thing. That's the way government should work. And I think that these two forums are, I hope, a new and open informational way to get a lot of people involved in the conversation, which is a good thing. So I certainly plan to participate, and I just think everybody should know, including the people who might be watching remotely, that this is a helpful thing for citizens. Okay.
I guess we'll turn that over to you now.
So, June 8th is the day for our referendum election, candidate and referendum. It also includes the school budget, our town budget, and some questions. So I'll give you the highlights. We have 5 people running for the select board for 2 seats. We have 3 people running for 2 seats for the SAD 40 Board of Directors. We have 1 person running for 2 seats for the utility district, and we have no one running for the budget committee. And I have to say, of all the committees, no offense to the select board, that's where your money's spent. And I have people come in all the time and they say something about their taxes. We are not, so everybody needs to be very clear on this. And we even put it on the tax bill last year, that it wasn't the town of Waldeboro tax bill. It was the town of Waldeboro, SAD 40, and the Lincoln County tax bill. We are roughly, I think, a little less than 25% of the tax bill, the town portion. We do not control the school budget, but I think there's some thought that that might happen. So we don't. I'm just amazed that nobody is interested in being and sitting on the budget committee. And I understand numbers might be a little bit boring, but people really need to participate. You learn so much. I think you learn more at the budget committee meetings and sitting there and being part of that than you could learn any other meeting you go to. You get to meet the department heads, you get to hear what their plans are, and it's an integral part of what we do. So I encourage people to think about whether they would like to be on the budget committee and mount a write-in campaign for budget committee, because it really is important. And I'm not, well, I am going to pat myself on the back, but Peg Tynan, our finance director, and Tanya Blodgett, they do an excellent job putting together that budget book. Peg and I work extremely well together. It's well thought out. We have a capital plan now that goes out, to be honest, to 2045. And honestly, you can't plan that far in advance, but we know we can't plan as far as what is a fire truck going to cost in 2045, but we know that we're going to need a fire truck in 2045. And the budget committee of the past may have only met in March, but our budget committee has been meeting year round. And that has been a commitment from people of time. And it's just really, I think, one of the best committees that you could be on. So I hope people will apply.
How many positions are there?
3.
So
We need 3.
Well, you made a good point about that everybody's interested in money, especially their money.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
here's an opportunity to have, I mean, how many people have come up to any one of us saying taxes too high, you gotta do something. You're new on there, you gotta do something. We gotta get, well, there's the opening.
Well,
Be a part of it.
our taxes, the town portion went down and nobody noticed. You know, and I even wrote a very nice letter on the back of the tax bill, and I can't tell you how many people were still shocked. And I said, well, did you read the back of your tax bill? And they're like, no. How many times I was standing at the counter taking in taxes back in the fall, and somebody would say, well, I don't understand why you're not open on, and I was like, I flipped the tax bill over and I'd slide it back out. I'm like, I guess you didn't see this on the back of the tax bill. But no, it is. It's something that people need to pay attention to and engage in. And I really do wish more people would.
And if they put themselves forward, they're going to have the opportunity to be included in the conversation far more
Correct.
under your leadership than we had in the past. The past, the budget committee might meet 2 times a year during budget season, and that was it. We've met a lot with them this year. And
Well,
it's because you want to get that education out there and a consensus about what we're trying to do here.
the capital planning was huge. The debt restructuring was huge, and getting buy-in from that and explaining it, you know, and those are the things, especially as we approach, and there's a lot going to be going on. We've got the medical arts facility coming. We've got the discussion on, and I'm sure, you know, the rec committee will be discussing, you know, the potential funding, what is the community center going to look like, all of those projects that are coming, that all requires money, and how that money is spent is important. You know, one of the things I found discouraging is we had tons of people in here several times during budget season from last July till now. And as soon as the budget committee meeting started, everybody left. I'm like, you're leaving for the best part. So that's just my impassioned public service plea for budget committee, because it is a lot. And we sing every once in a while. Okay, I see. We do have our municipal budget questions. The typical budget questions are on there. This is all on the website. It's under news, and it's also under, I believe, finance department. So you can look them up. And I will say we are proud of this budget for a couple of reasons. Is last year, the select board and the budget committee had to make some tough decisions during COVID times, and they were thoughtful decisions, difficult but thoughtful decisions. And I think the select board this year and the budget committee both made decisions to reinstitute some of the programming we had lost, and also some of restaffing. Public Works had to hold off on some hiring. Police department was reduced by 1. And even in EMS, we're putting that 3rd crew back on. So things like that were able to be re-implemented, along with paving in the budget, which had to be taken out. And one of the things that afforded us the ability to do this was an increase in the revenue sharing projections and the American Rescue Plan. And the American Rescue Plan monies were only utilized per their requirements of what we could utilize it for, which was more of the focus on public safety. That let us bring back some things. Our fund balance will look really good next year. And we can have some serious discussions about how that moves on. So that's another thing that I'd like to, as we go into fall, meet with the budget committee about as we get a good grasp on as our FY 21 ends in June 30th, what our ending balances are and how we truly look. So some good things happening there. So we went through all of our budget articles, and in the end, I think we came out just 0.5% under. I think we'll see like 0.5% in our portion reduction in tax. Well, in the end, when we
But we certainly keep it over only one.
correct. So I think that's something that's been good. Other warrant articles. I know we had discussed Article 34 about an interest rate. I know last year during COVID, we talked about that. We left it the same. I would recommend we leave it the same. We already went through this, but there is a public hearing. It's 9%. The town will pay it interest of 3% on any amount overpaid on property taxes. We are offering a tax club plan to taxpayers, as we always do. So be aware of that in Article 36. Trying to think what else. Oh, I have to point out, because I promised, I was called today by the deputy chairman of the Shellfish Committee. I just need to point out that in Article 13, the money appropriated of $28,945 for the Shellfish Management Program, that budget is fully funded by clamming license fees. No public fees are utilized. Glenn wanted me to make sure that everybody knew that. And then you have Article 44, and that is, shall the town authorize the select board to notify the commissioner of the Department of Marine Resources that it wishes to exercise its rights to alewives for the year. And I'm just bringing that one up. That's on there all the time. We're close to getting the last dam removed that would make it the ability for the alewives to make it all the way to Washington Pond. And the DMR is working on that. So everybody wonders, why do we always have that on the warrant? That's why, because at some point we will be able to potentially harvest the alewives.
And I guess if we don't exercise our rights, ever
We lose it.
we lose the rights.
You don't.
Correct. And then we have Article 45, and that is, shall the town approve the creation of up to 36 units of affordable senior housing on the site of the former 80 Gray School, and authorize the select board to convey the 80 Gray School property, map U4 lot 63, to Volunteers of America for $1, and on such other terms and conditions that the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town. And then Article 46, which was by voter petition, shall the town approve the creation of the 80 Gray Park to be located on the property containing the former 80 Gray School, map U4 lot 63, and the adjacent properties located on map U4 lot 62 and map U5 lot 30. And the explanatory note that was included is this municipal park would exist in perpetuity and be created without the use of town tax dollars. Creating the park would include removing the former 80 Gray building, removing the obsolete tennis courts, and restoring the wetland and buffer area on the property. It is petitioners' hope that in addition to the existing athletic fields, this park will eventually include a gazebo, children's playground, recreational courts, farmers market, and community gardens, which may or may not require private or public funds. And we are having, because those are going to be two big questions, a community forum question and answer on Thursday. So there's a couple of ground rules I want to just go over. And Max, if I forgot anything, I need you to point at me. One is that it's not a debate. And first is the Park Coalition is going at 6 o'clock. Each group will get about, say, 10-15 minutes to give an overview of their project. Max is already receiving written comments. We really are encouraging people who have internet service, who can watch from home, to watch from home, because we're limited to this space here and we can't have too many people. So if people could watch from home and submit their questions early, then people who don't have internet access can attend in person. Because we have all of the equipment set up here, it's really hard for us to be mobile with the recordings and everything. So please submit your questions written prior, and the participants will then get the questions the day before, so that, of course, they have time to answer them.
And we email those to you or Max?
Max,
Max.
you can email them to me, you can put them on our Facebook page, whatever you prefer, but they really do need to get to Max. And that'll prevent a lot of the same questions being answered over and over and over again, which is kind of what we're finding. And then at 7 o'clock, Volunteers of America, along with a representative from Maine Housing, will be here to answer questions. So I think that will work really well. We want it to be informational. I think Bill Napower is our moderator. It's not for an opinion session. It's about getting information to the public. So not about standing up and saying, hey, I support this or I don't support that. It's about questions, and then giving the people that are here representing the organizations the opportunity to answer the questions. So I would encourage as many people who can attend remotely. This will be well publicized. It will be on our Facebook page. It'll be on our website. It'll be on LCTV. So plenty of people will get a chance to see it even after the fact.
There is a small nit on the website. I just noticed it.
Okay.
You've got the date very clear, May 13th, but under that, it says May 03 to
Okay.
2021.
I will check that out and change it. But people are excited. I mean, I was excited that it was shared so much. I was excited that we were getting questions. So I think it'll be a really informative time.
Is that it?
That's all I have.
Does anybody get any questions?
Oh, and the school budget. Sorry,
No, yes.
I forgot the one thing. The school budget is here. And again, looks a little different. It looks more like it did last year. It has the 5 questions on it, which is a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. It's broken down a little bit differently. So it is there.
So people can click on absentee
Oh,
ballot.
that's right too. Absentee ballots. I was a little concerned. Our absentee ballots came in today. We have absentee ballots available. One thing everybody needs to be aware of, there is not a state election with our local election. The problem is you cannot request them online. Everybody's been trying to request them online. The ABR service does not work for local elections. It's only when the state election is involved. So you can either write to us, you can call the office, you can do a written application, or you can call the office and we'll get it right out to you.
Cool. Any other questions?
Just one quick question. The select board, the people that are presenting are going to be here. We can tune in from home.
You can tune in from home.
Right,
It's
because
not
we
a
don't have a
select board,
direct
right?
part
It's
of
not a select board
Okay.
meeting. You're not gonna have to open up. I would ask that you tune in from home.
I just want to be
You'd be
clear.
available, say if there was a question. I will be here. Max will be here. If there's a question pertaining to the town, if somebody has a burning need to know,
Yeah.
we'll try to answer it, or we can call on one of you. But I really would ask that we make as much room as possible. I've had already a couple of elderly residents request just the fact that they have internet, but they just can't work it and they'd like to be here. So if at all possible.
Well, and there's also press from Lincoln County Courier Gazette. We like having them here with a picture.
Yeah. So I just want to try to fit as many people who can't participate from home here. It's important that we try to help each other.
Stay home. Seth?
Not directly related to the warrant articles per se, but I'm curious if there are any observations the board would make about what happens in the case that both of those 2 80 grade things pass or don't. So it's not clear what direction the people. How's that resolved, or how are you guys thinking about that?
We're gonna cross that road when we get there, because we have no idea. We have no idea. So, well, cool. Anybody else?
I think, you said copy of the warrants on the website somewhere.
Yes,
I'm having trouble finding it, so I just wanted to.
it is
Did you say it's under new news?
under news. If you, sometimes if you are on your phone, hold on. You have to hit this. News and events. It says view all news.
Is that under Stay Connected or our community?
Waldeboro Budget Committee and Select Board approve budget for warrant. Click more. And there should be a tab there that I don't see. I will look at that tonight before I leave.
I noticed some things that you don't get on your phone that you do on the computer, because I've been looking up maps, DMR maps with P90 scores for areas that whether they're polluted or not. They don't come up on your phone, but they'll come up on your computer. I don't understand why. It's the same map.
No,
So,
it should have come right up.
so,
You know, it was on there. I will resolve that so that it does come up on. I may have to call them to find out why. Thank you for telling me that.
I know there is issues that way. I've run into that issue. So
Be good.
even with state websites, I mean, so it's not.
A lot of people, this is their computer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is mine. I don't want to computers.
And that was one of the things when we went through the whole thing with the website was we wanted it to be mobile
Friendly.
friendly. And every once in a while, the little box that you have to hit for the drop downs hide. So that can also be an issue. I'm going to sit here and work on that while you guys are talking about
Yep.
something else.
Guess we're all set. Would somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing on the town warrant?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Sweet. All right, we'll move on. Any adjustments to the agenda? Bob's quiet down there. Okay. Citizens' comments. Go ahead, Seth. Up to the lectern.
Just two brief things. Seth Hall, resident and small business owner. We have started as of Monday, yesterday, the 10th yoga instruction back at the annex, and we had a fairly decent turnout. I was out of town, so I couldn't be there, but I'm told by the instructor, Meg Livers, who is also a new resident of Waldeboro, and I think she's the one who's running the pet care or overnight hospitality facility up on, is on 220 someplace. She and her husband have bought a small house up there. So that's good news. Something is going well. The other thing is related to the election. As some of us know, the last couple of years have been difficult in terms of people trying to run campaigns in this town. There's been widespread destruction and theft of signage, campaign signs. Both Margot last year and I have suffered chronic disappearances of signs, which really is not a good way for a public voting process to work and, democracy and all of that. I would hope that the select board would, I don't know, perhaps just encourage people publicly to respect the state law. You can't destroy a sign. You can't touch a sign of somebody else, actually. And just try to keep the conversation civil, because I think that's really useful to the town. It doesn't do any good to drive over signs with trucks and stuff like that and throw them in ditches. Nothing is served by that. And to all of us who've ever run and bought signs know they're damn expensive. You're talking about several hundreds of dollars, and it's just not really a very fair thing to do. So I hope
That occurred this year? Yes.
I think the signs have just been out a couple of days, since you're only allowed to put them out 30 days. And so I think, like mushrooms, they sprouted on Sunday. So we don't know, but I'm really hoping not. It has been a chronic problem in this town, and it's been John Lash can tell you about it. He's had multiple reports about it. There's really almost no way to figure out who's doing it.
I remember it happened last year.
Yes, and it's happened for years.
Happens every year to everybody.
Well, with all due respect, it doesn't happen to everybody. But it-
Happens to most people.
Statistics speak for themselves, but it is a problem, and I would hope the select board would just, I don't know, make some statement about how unfortunate that is, and let's try to avoid it. Thanks. I say this as a candidate. I didn't mention that, of course, and Will's a candidate too.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay, yep. Internet comments?
Yep, just YouTube comments. It's Ruben Mahar, our favorite YouTube guy. Just wants to give his continued thanks to the town for seeing us through the last couple of years. And he wants to suggest everyone read a book called Fiber by Susan Crawford. So that's it.
Is that the kind you use to see the internet, or is that the kind you eat to?
Yeah, there's that
The
too.
kind you eat.
You'll have to read to find
I
out.
guess I better read it to find out.
Is it a novel?
Yeah.
Or is it novel?
Well, there. Guess we're all set. Select board comments, Bob?
I'll try to keep it short. I think Julie received from the MRC this week an announcement about the transition that's ongoing in the ownership of the solid waste processing plant in Hampton. It's been closed since last May, and there have been discussions ongoing between the bondholders who own the plant and potential buyers. There is an arrangement in the offing. The MRC doesn't own it. The MRC has nothing to say about the sale of it. But we do have, the MRC does have something to say about the contracts that the plant has to process the solid waste. It does have something to say about the land on which the plant sits, because the MRC owns the land and there's a lease agreement. So the MRC is encouraging citizens who have questions or would like to know more to give them a shout or to visit their website to get the information they desire. And if they can't get the information they want, I do sit on the board. They can call me and I can point them in the right direction.
Cool.
So
Is that it?
that's it. Thanks.
Colonel?
Heard something the other day that the transfer station is going to start taking, or is already taking, credit cards, debit cards.
We're going to start taking it.
Start taking it. I think that's kind of exciting.
It's very exciting. We are very excited about that. Mhm.
That's all I have.
Do you know exactly when that's going to happen?
Peg is just working it. We just have to run a update on the software system that we have, and then we will be implementing. It's the same system you use if you pay your taxes. So yes, it'll all be easily done by credit card. There is a fee for that convenience. There's a convenience
There'll be
fee.
a sign up there saying. the
Yes, there'll be a
fee, so
sign.
2%,
But-
something like that.
Some people will be very happy because I think what happens is everybody thinks it's one of those things that we're, little by little, we're revamping and coming up with coming up to date with technology. So that'll be a huge issue.
Jan?
Soon.
Coming soon to a transfer station near you in Walboro.
We have the nicest transfer station. It has the best view of
It does.
of any transfer station I've been to. And when you have a nice view, it just makes your mood nicer. And they also have some very nice people out there who are helpful. I know there are times when I back my truck up to those bins, and the next thing I know, there's a helper out there just chatting, talking, taking stuff and throwing it without, just in a very casual and nice way. But that wasn't what I was going to say. I think this coming, well, not this weekend, but the following, I believe it's May 23rd, there's another shellfish cleanup. And I was thinking about collaboration, and we talked about that in other areas where I've been. And I was duly impressed with the collaboration of the last one, because it included, and I'm going to try to get more citizens too, it included the shellfish guys, the clammers, because they need to get their conservation points, right?
Mhm.
But also the snow crawlers were there and they were quite excited about cleaning up. And a lot of them were away, and here's another opportunity for them to come. But they did a great job. We had the Conservation Commission people there who were doing good things for the town, and we had citizens. And I just think if we all work together and that things work out the best for the town. I heard a lot of compliments after that. It was noticeable because the snow had melted and those things that grow under the snow during the winter were showing, and then all of a sudden they were cleaned up, and it was very noticeable around town. And it was just such a good effort by our town where everybody worked together, you know, in garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage can bring you together.
We were
So-
talking trash.
So that's right. We were. It was all good. And I believe it's the 23rd is the next one, and it's really early in the morning, I'm sad to say, but.
Hey,
You
it's
know.
the best time of day.
I
Get
don't
it done and over
know. I'll find out.
Bob, did you have anything else?
I just,
Oh, okay.
Jan answered my question.
I only got a little comment about the upweller. It is full, the cages are in. There's roughly somewhere around 19,000 clams, adult clams in the upweller. And being conservative numbers, it potentially 19,000 clams times 1 million clams per adult clam of seed comes out of them. That's being very conservative. It's in the trillions, billions of trillions. And I had a talk with an individual that works over to MTI in Brunswick, Maine Technologies. And I told him about our project and he said, put an application in. So I had our town manager put an application in for 2 more upwellers, up to somewhere around
Mhm.
25,000.
25,000, yep.
So we'll know that. That was put in the end of last week.
Beginning of last week, and I
Beginning.
have the first meeting with them on Thursday.
Yep. So
That's for grant money, right?
for grant money.
Total
yes.
grant money,
Fantastic.
Yep. And it's no match
no match.
Oh, great.
and no
Wow.
match. So
We were
that's good.
excited.
That's really huge. So she jumped right onto that, and so hoping to do that and have 2 more upwellers down there. And Friendship is looking
Fine.
into doing the same thing, putting an upweller in a cove and having that same philosophy potentially happen. And hopefully we can inundate Friendship and Waldeboro and possibly Bremen and have this area the mecca of clams again. And sustainable and, break that cycle. So that's all I have to say. Town managers report.
I just want to remind everybody, we have the 80 Gray forums. I already talked about that, but on the 18th, it's the 18th, right, Max? We have the Sylvania Forum. And Max put up some information on the website about that. So Max will be there that night. Max Lewick from the DEP will be there. So we'll have a full house that night.
You want the select board there for that too?
Again, if you could participate by
Remotely?
remotely, if you have that capability. I'm just trying to keep this open for people who really don't have the ability to, of course, we may have to turn people away if there's too many, but, the hope is that more people can participate remotely. The ballots, I already said, were available. We did start interviews for the town clerk. We have 2 finalists that we're looking at, and that should come out shortly. And I just wanted to point out to you, Will, I found it. It's under departments, town clerk, election information. And there used to be a link on the very front, and I think I replaced that when the forums came up. So I will put that under the news, but it is there under departments, under town clerk, election information. That's all I have.
Something about Chapel Road?
Oh, how could I forget? Chapel Road. It's wired. It's wired. Chapel Road is wired. They were even there yesterday in front of somebody's house. So the question came up on Facebook, and Ruben, I'm sure you're listening, is when can they sign up? Because one of the residents called and they said, well, it's not exactly hooked up yet. It'll be like 6 months. No, they're working on it. They should be starting to receive information from Spectrum about what is available to them. So it's happening. It's happening.
Ruben must be doing a happy dance.
Everybody was doing a happy dance. Well, I was posting pictures on Facebook of trucks pulling wire, so it was a happy dance. It was a very happy dance.
Consent calendar. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. New business, 10-1, the MOU for the VOA.
I'm tired of MOU, VOA. We have an MOU from the VOA for the select board's consideration. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. You guys haven't seen this yet till tonight, and I don't expect you to even remotely vote on it. But it is done. It's been reviewed. The AD grade committee today went over it, and they submitted it for you. Move it on up to you to review. And I need everybody to be mindful. It's a negotiation. And this is a memorandum of understanding. It is not binding on them or us till we get to the option agreement. This is the first step to get to the option agreement. I would encourage and ask that the select board make this a public document now so that we can share it with the public and that it can be available for people to consider as they make their choices as the election comes. And I will just go over some of the highlights that we've been asked about. It does talk about what the goal is, the ownership, the developer, the term of the agreement. There is two types of bonds. One is a performance bond and one is a payment bond. And that is a condition of the execution and delivery of the option agreement, that they will deliver to the town as beneficiary a payment bond for a mutually agreed amount that reasonably compensates the town in the event the VOA fails to obtain funding, runs out of funding, or encounters any other issues which prevent the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. They agreed to that. That amount will be discussed in the option agreement. Again, a lot of this is dependent on funding. And one of the things that we did find during this discussion was how much main housing of a role main housing plays in the funding for these types of projects and a lot of the layers of protections that you would get from main housing. So I think that's an important portion to note for this. So this will be posted on the website. It'll have draft across it. I don't want anybody thinking it's the original or that this has been signed or executed. It's draft for consideration to the select board. Like I said, they literally got it tonight when they sat down. But I felt it was extremely important to get it to the public for the public to see. So I would hope that the select board would agree that we should make it a public document.
Somebody like to make a motion to do that?
I'd make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion on it? Hearing none? All those in favor? And we're not acting on it, we're just making it public.
Making it public. And I did
Clarify
invite
that.
the AD grade committee to come to the next select board meeting. So if you have
That's fine.
questions for them,
So
They
that'll
will be
be,
there.
so that'll be one of the items for.
that'll
the
be
next
one of the
agenda.
items for the next
Okay.
agenda. So I wanted you to be aware of
Will
that.
that be a presentation? So it'll be early?
Yeah, I can make it early. And if you tell me, I will make it early.
Well, just
And
making
I
sure if
can
there's
do
a
that.
Presentation.
I can move the department head that we were having come for that. That's not a problem.
Cool. Yep, go ahead, Seth.
Two quick questions. Is there any discussion in the MOU of donation in lieu of taxation and
Oh.
amount?
Well, again, there is a discussion of, yes, there is a portion for it where I can tell you about the payment in lieu of taxes. Regardless of its nonprofit status, VOA is not opposed to providing revenue to the town after VOA exercises its option to purchase the subject property. The town and VOA agreed to address the payment of real estate taxes and payments in lieu of taxes and/or during their negotiation of the terms of the option agreement. So that has been on the table. And part of the problem, I would say, with nailing down specific numbers is what is it going to look like when they build it? What is the value going to be assessed to it? Those types of issues. So I think that the 80 grade committee did a good job of exploring all the options of what they could expect, what they wanted. As with any negotiation, you don't always walk away with everything you want. But I do think that it gives us a good way to show, especially now, before we get to the option agreement, the public. And the public then can take this and utilize it to make a decision, an informed decision. And they can, it's very difficult, because there was even some discussion, do you do the MOU because it's non-binding, or do you just go right to the option agreement? So at least the MOU did give the ability for us to make it public and get out there what is there. So.
And one last question, can we assume that this will be published pretty quickly online so that before
Tomorrow morning.
people see it?
Yeah, I just want to put draft on it before it gets out there and people think it's the real thing.
All set? Everybody else? Any other questions? Before I move on, okay. The placement of the five-masted schooner sculpture.
Well, I'll give you some background on that. It was before Julie came, the Nichols family, Nate Nichols, died of a heart attack at a young age. He's the sculptor artist, reclaimed things on Route 32 South. His family, as they were going through and cleaning things up, offered a five-masted schooner to the town. There was a presentation on Waldeboro Day up at 80 Gray, where it was presented by Nate's son, Josh, to the town manager, and I was there as the select board representative. It was all very nice. He took it back to his house and he wanted to do something with it. And at any rate, and then not too long after that, LJ left, went somewhere else. Julie came in and we kind of didn't know where it was. So I've been looking for it for a while, and we decided that it was, because I think the plan was that it would go up to the Public Works building for storage until the appropriate spot was found. So I thought that was it. And then an article came out in the Lincoln County News, I believe, and it was like, oh my word, there it is. So I wrote to him right away and, told him who I was and apologized that I said, we're changing government, people, and we lost it in how that article just solved a mystery for us. So he sent a note to me that said, Chan, thank you for reaching out. I would love for the town to have the piece. I had repaired the schooner just before it was donated, but fear it may need a little more attention. Some minor damage was done during a windstorm this past fall, and I have not had the time to address it. It seems fairly minor. I do believe, okay, this, and you get texts how they get out of place. So some of these are out of place. I hope this is the right one. Maybe that's, okay, I do believe that the Waldeboro Historical Museum had expressed interest if the town was not going to follow through. But seeing that there may still be hope for the town, I would be happy to honor the donation. I could also anchor the ship to a large stone to give it a more stable base. I would like to have you contact me when I return from a trip, blah, blah, blah. Okay, thank you. I asked him what the dimensions were. 4 by 3.5 feet, and he sent me a picture. I asked if the family had any ideas where they would like to see it. And that, if not, the select board might come up with a few ideas, and asked what kind of maintenance we need to do to preserve it. He says, I do not believe there is any preference in regards to location. As for maintenance, I will spray it with the urethane to preserve the rust patina, and it should be done at least bi-yearly. I'm going to start repairs this weekend and hope to have it ready by the end of the week after. So I just said, thank you, no rush. He said, we didn't want you to think we got lost again. So it's been a while in coming. And I asked the board if they had any ideas. Katie,
I talked to Katie. I don't know if you have talked to Katie at all.
she mentioned she and
she
Steve
had-
Warren had talked
Yeah,
about gardening
they talked,
out
she had
front.
talked to the garden club about putting it on the other side of the driveway
Yeah.
from, and put it like in a piece of granite block and have
Yeah.
it on top of a piece of granite block.
Mhm.
That's what the garden club, I guess, would like to see, potentially.
Any other
I don't know if
ideas?
anybody else has any other preferences. I
I
don't
just,
see,
I just have a comment to make about scale. I think we want to put it in an area where the scale is appropriate. And I'm not sure putting it in a large open space is going to achieve that for us.
I don't know if it's a 3 foot.
It's 4 by 3.5.
So,
4
I mean,
feet
that's a
by
pretty good size. It's
3.5.
almost the size of a sheet of plywood.
And it's,
So, half a sheet of plywood. So
Half a sheet of plywood. Yeah.
that's,
I just had a thought that you have to be careful of somebody defaming it in the middle of the night or something, putting a fence around it or doing something. so
I
that-
like the circle out front.
maybe having it up by the flagpole
Mhm.
somewhere in that area. So when you drive in,
this is what it looks like.
We have a camera out
Yep.
there that
We have,
maybe I shouldn't ask the question. Sorry. But I'll put it this way. It would be nice to have a camera out there so that if it were vandalized.
well, I would say that here it's, the
Pretty simple.
chances of it being vandalized are very slim.
In front of the police department, it's
Because
probably
we
a
have-
bad place to be a vandal.
Yeah.
Did you want to see? Can you see it?
I
from
see
there?
it. No, I've seen it.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's a nice size. It was in the parade.
Yeah.
The year they gave it to
so
us.
maybe something like on a piece of granite in front of right where the flagpole is then.
I just think it needs to be in a nice.
So when you drive in,
protected
you're gonna
area.
see it
Gonna see it?
regardless.
I thought it would be nice to have a little plaque to honor Nate Nichols, who, I used to drop my stuff off, old metal things, because he could do magic with them and it would please somebody. My old cylinder or garden tools. And he was just very clever and he was a very nice man and he sold blueberries.
Yep. Yep.
So I just thought it'd be nice if we had just some plaque that, I thought it was very nice of his family to want to honor the town with a piece of his art.
Seth?
I would just hope that we might also consider the beautiful new town landing that the state just built for us as a nod to the place that the boats were actually built, and that, frankly, a way to attract people to that beautiful waterfront in the village. It's, and as Bob points out, the scale might be more appropriate in that, more intimate setting than it would in a huge lawn.
I think a little bit of concern of vandalism may be an issue too. I think that's,
Fair enough.
we put picnic tables and stuff, we have to chain and padlock the picnic tables down, so, something as precious as that, what could happen? I think, I see both sides of it. I just didn't see it down there, but
Yeah.
whether
Same thing.
It's a
it
guy-
lives to see any amount
Yeah.
of time may be an issue,
Bingo.
so. So do we have to make a decision? Is that what we're here?
Well, I
You
just
want
thought we
Joy?
should discuss where we'd like to put
Yep.
it. I don't know that.
Yep.
Is anybody, this may sound crazy, anybody opposed to putting it inside?
I think LJ had talked about putting it in the lobby somehow.
It's just a thought.
Is there room for it?
I'd have to really see it. I'm just saying that everybody who comes in would then see it. It's not something I know, it's designed to be outside. I just,
Yeah, the plaque would be there.
and we still have that wallpaper that when there is time, we're going to do the history of, on that wall,
Mhm.
the history of Waldeboro, and that would fit nicely into that. Yeah,
I like the idea of it being inside to
Mhm.
protect it from the elements.
yeah, because
How
that,
about, just a idea, how about so it could be moved? So for example, when the medical arts building opens, it could be there for a while. When it goes, there might be a
it could go on
gymnasium
display.
open,
different
we could have it there for a
Yeah.
while, and move it wherever there's gonna be the,
Mhm.
some action. Idea.
Those are all good ideas. We just got to come up with one.
Right, I just thought it would be good to get the conversation going, and I'll contact him about getting it, but I'll need some details, when and how and where
Oh.
and where to take it and that
Well,
sort
I'd
of
say
thing too.
if we wanted to move it around, then we don't want it on a cement block. So, or a granite block, I should say, not a cement, but a granite.
Maybe we should take a field trip out there and take a look at it
That's probably a good
and to
idea.
visualize where it might
Yep.
look good and check out what we have here.
Just the options
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
whether it be inside or outside.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to happen to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you, the scale has to be appropriate.
So as we leave tonight, we'll check out the lobby.
3x4.
3x4, half a sheet of plywood.
Cool. Guess we're all set there. Moving along. Old business, we have none. Items for the next meeting.
I think I have my marching orders on that.
You got one at least.
Mhm,
Got the MOU.
Get
mhm.
the MOU
For VOA.
for the view.
Are we gonna want to say anything more
A-okay.
about the MRC Hampton decision? You've got the materials.
I have the materials. I mean, I think I would like a little more time to digest them. I just got
Yep.
them Monday.
Yep.
We've been a little busy,
No, you have been.
just a tad.
Just got one ready.
Just a tad. So that's what I have.
Anybody else? All set?
We do need an executive, if you wouldn't mind, to go into executive for personnel for town clerk, if you wouldn't mind, just to have a short discussion.
Tonight.
If we could tonight, that would be lovely.
Oh, again tonight?
Yes, do you
I
mind?
hope you're not waiting 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second? All those in